Hello everyone, I am Jen Pike, your host of Simplicity TV and the founder of the Simplicity Project. Today I'm inviting you into my home, into my kitchen for another one of our Simplicity Kitchen episodes. Now, by no means do I try and appear to have it all together when it comes to being in the kitchen. Those of you that have spent time with me in here before, who know me well, know that I try and create with what I have when I have it. And I learn on the fly, and I most definitely in life and in my recipes just jump before I am ready. You'll probably see some of that today in the kitchen. This recipe though is happening from my book. These are chocolate fatties. These guys I make often for guests. They're right here. They are delicious, they're decadent, they are low in sugar, and they are rich in fat for your body. Now I have all of my ingredients, my pan, everything waiting for me over at the stove. So why don't you come join me over there and learn how to make these chocolate fatties. So we have made it over here to the stove and I've got all of the ingredients set up. You're gonna start with a half a cup of coconut oil that we're gonna melt down in here. Again, I don't measure a lot. Feel free to grab your measuring cup to get it out. I'm pretty darn good at eyeballing now. Get off the spoon. So we've got about a half a cup of coconut oil. We're gonna let that start to melt its way down. Now remember, with this, we're trying to get it into this liquid state because we need to be able to pour this into our molds. So we're gonna let this start to work its way down. So while this is still starting to work down, I'm gonna start to add in the nut butter. So again, about a half a cup of this. Okay, we're gonna work our way in. Now, what's really great when you open up a new jar for this recipe is you can pour some of that oil over the top and get the hard part of your nut butter in there as well. So that and this is giving us about that half cup that we are looking for. And again, we're gonna let this just start to become one and melt down in. I really recommend letting your coconut oil start to melt down first, then putting the nut butter in. Now it's gonna take a little bit of work on your end, just starting to break it up. So now that our coconut oil and our nut butter are all warmed down, we're gonna add in, oh, not the lid for the honey. Sometimes that happens in the kitchen. That honey is a sticky sucker. All right. You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, really, what is the purpose of life? All right, here we go. So our honey is gonna start to make its way down. When you start to see that that heat is cranking itself up there, you've gotta turn it down. You're gonna burn this and it will taste awful. Okay, so we've turned it right down. All right, we've got the chunky nut butter that's in here, so there's gonna be some nuts left over, don't worry about it. Here we go. Now we're gonna stir in our cocoa powder. So 2 to 3 tablespoons, which means you start with 2 tablespoons. You start to work it through. Then you see if you need to adjust. Some of you are like chocolate freaks. You love chocolate, you love the decadence of it. Now remember, cocoa or cacao, if you're using that, there's no sugar in it. So if you keep adding more chocolate looking for sweetness, you are going to be sadly, sadly disappointed because it's just going to get more and more rich and decadent, not sweet. So start to work it through. We're gonna add another tablespoon in. Gonna work it through again. Now you do have the option of adding in a splash of vanilla. I'm not gonna do that. The fatties that we're trying to make today, we want them to look like they're a milk chocolate version, okay? So you could use, you could melt down a little bit of dark chocolate if you wanted to, like double boiler method. And you could make them a whole lot darker, but for today, we're not gonna do that. So you just wanna make sure that you're getting any of these dry pockets of the cocoa powder mixed in. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove it from the heat and you're gonna pour it into a jar that has a pour spout. Okay, so we're gonna turn our heat off, give it another couple of little stirs in here. And then we're gonna take it off, we're gonna pour it into our glass jar here. And you gotta be careful because this is quite hot coming off the stove, so especially if you have little people and little hands helping you, make sure you're aware of that. Okay, so now we've got it in here. We're gonna go back over to the counter with our molds and we're gonna start to pour and get ready to put them into the fridge. Okay, so now we're back over at the counter. I bought these chocolate molds from the Bulk Barn. They were about 99 cents each. And I'm putting them on top of my Pampered Chef stoneware so that I know they lie completely flat once I slide them into the fridge. You wanna have some moistened paper towel around you. Some of this might splash up. We can just clean it after, or don't worry about it when you're putting it into the fridge. And when it comes out and you pop them out of the mold, you can just kind of chip away that little part that's extra on the side. So don't even stress over it. So we're gonna add it in slowly, and you don't wanna overflow on the top. Okay, so as you're pouring out, if you notice that you have less chocolate than you do molds, it's not like when you're baking something and you have to fill the other ones up with water. You're just putting these in the fridge or the freezer, so don't even worry about it. Just fill what you have. Now, if you have extra chocolate, well, that is not a problem. You can just save that, put it in a mason jar. You could use that over top of some fruit later on. You could even maybe dip some fruit for your kidlets using this. It smells yummy, yummy, yummy. And it's gonna taste even better. Now, if you open up your freezer and you realize you don't have enough room in your freezer for both trays, again, don't freak out. Put one tray in your freezer, put one tray in your fridge. You'll be all good. They only need to stay in there for about an hour. So now I've put everything into the fridge and into the freezer because much like you at home, I didn't have room for everything to go in the freezer. So one tray's down below, one tray's up above. The beauty is you can't over cold these, right? You can't over freeze them, you can't overdo them in the fridge. You have to store them in the fridge or the freezer anyways. And that's one of the other incredible parts about this recipe. You can store them in a container in the fridge for about a month. You can store them in the freezer for up to 3 months. So once that time is done, in the refrigeration or in the freezer, you're just gonna pop them out of the mold, store them in whatever type of glass dish that you love, and you're ready to go for that next time that you're craving something sweet. Instead of going for a chocolate bar or going for an extra latte or going for an extra glass of wine or a cookie or whatever your thing may be, choose a chocolate fatty instead. Another little step to help to create more simplicity and more ease in all that you do.